Libra darling, listen closely because today is not just another Monday. It is a cosmic turning point. And if you're watching this right now, know this: the moment you've been sensing, dreaming of, or praying for is already unfolding. Exactly at 12 a.m. today, a divine activation was set into motion. It's no coincidence you landed on this video. It's a Kala spiritual alignment that reaches far beyond logic or routine. Your soul responded to something sacred. And today, it will all begin to make sense. Maybe you've been seeing the number 7 everywhere. On receipts. On clocks. In dreams. Or maybe there's been a quiet stirring inside you, a whisper that something big is coming, but you didn't know when or how. Well, this is the how. And this is the when. This message is not just a reading. It's an invitation from the universe to claim what is already yours: abundance, reconciliation, clarity, and peace. And I want to ask you something, Libra. What have you done, or held on to, or overcome, that called you to be here, at this precise hour? Because nothing is random. And certainly not today. This is your hour. The 12 a.m. portal has opened wide. And in its light, 3 forces move in your favor. A financial shift so sudden it will silence doubt, the return of someone who still carries your frequency, and the inner release that comes from finally letting go of what weighed down your spirit. You are not late. You are right on divine time. And if you've been waiting for a sign to believe again, breathe again, try again, this is it. But before we go any deeper, let me take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for your path, and for this community. Every like, every comment, every share, every subscription brings you closer to this family we're building here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. And believe me when I say, your energy makes this space what it is. Your presence here is felt deeply. So if anything I've said so far speaks to your spirit, if your heart is already nodding, your soul already remembering, then I want you to comment below right now and write, I received the miracle of 12 a.m. I am ready. Because when you declare it, you don't just hope for it. You activate it. And Libra, stay with me until the very end of this message, because what the universe is revealing today is nothing short of spectacular. We're not just talking predictions. We're talking soul recognition, financial justice, divine timing, and yes, miracles that rewrite the script. So take a deep breath. Open your heart. Let your energy receive. Because this message, this moment was created just for you. Now, let's go deeper. There's something quietly powerful about the stillness of midnight. It's not just a time on the clock, it's a transition point between what has been and what can now begin. And when we speak of 12 a.m. on a day like November 10th, especially under an astrological alignment involving the Moon and Uranus harmonizing with the second house of value and security, we're not merely talking about planetary geometry. We're talking about a sacred invitation. An energetic threshold. A moment that holds the potential to shift internal landscapes, not because something external forces it, but because your soul is finally aligned enough to receive what it's long been praying for. At midnight, the world sleeps. But your spirit awakens. The distractions fall away, the noise fades, and all that remains is the whisper between your heart and the universe. And in that quiet, the most honest intentions rise to the surface. This is why the law of attraction refers to it as the hour of pure intention. It's not about begging or striving. It's about clarity. It's about stating what you are ready for, not in desperation, but in deep readiness. Think of it like planting seeds in the most fertile soil. The mind is quiet, the heart is open, and the energy is undisturbed. Anything you declare in this space is magnified. This is the frequency where manifestation doesn't feel like chasing, it feels like alignment. And when you say out loud, or even whisper from your heart, "I'm ready," something begins to shift. Not just around you, but within you. Because all true miracles begin in the unseen places first. Now, there's a wisdom that aligns beautifully with this moment, one that many of us forget in the rush of daily life. It's the spiritual principle that reminds us, those who sow in tears will reap in joy. And perhaps you've been in that sowing season longer than you thought you could endure. Perhaps you've watered your dreams with silent prayers, unseen effort, or quiet acts of integrity when no one was watching. If so, then this moment, this midnight portal, is not a reward for being perfect. It's a response to your consistency, your honesty, your faith, even when you weren't sure if anything was listening. And maybe you've had days where you gave everything and felt like nothing came back. Nights where you looked at your ceiling wondering if things would ever change. The truth is, those moments didn't go unnoticed. They became part of your spiritual investment. And now, the return is ready. The miracle doesn't arrive as a bolt from the sky, but as a gentle echo of what you've already planted. And this is why being present in moments like this fully, consciously, is so important. Because timing is spiritual. And readiness is energetic. So, if you've been led here, you don't need to force anything. You don't need to do more, try harder, or be someone else. You simply need to receive. To know that the vortex is opening not because of coincidence, but because of divine timing that intersects with your alignment. As you stand in this quiet power of midnight, reflect on what you're ready to release and what you're truly ready to receive. You don't have to name it perfectly. You don't have to do it right. You just have to be honest with yourself. Say it in your heart. Whisper it if you need to. Because what you say now will not echo into an empty sky, it will land on fertile ground, charged with light. And if you're wondering whether this moment is really for you, let me gently offer this. What if your presence here is already the proof that it is? If this resonates with you, I invite you to affirm it aloud or write in the comments, "I honor the power of 12 a.m. I release the old and receive the new." Let it be a sacred confirmation between you and the miracle that has already begun. Some turning points in life don't come with warning signs or dramatic entrances, they arrive softly, but with unmistakable power. And when we speak of miracles, especially those that unfold through three distinct signs: financial abundance, emotional reconciliation, and the call to muguri, not just referring to metaphors. These are energetic shifts, deeply personal and often life-altering, that can quietly transform the landscape of your soul and the direction of your future. The appearance of an unexpected financial opportunity, for instance, often comes cloaked in ordinary circumstances: a message from someone you haven't spoken to in years, a random call about a contract, an inheritance you didn't see coming, or a project you quietly nurtured now bearing unexpected fruit. In the language of tarot, this is the Ace of Pentacles, a symbol of grounded, prosperous new beginnings. But there's something deeper at play. It's not just about the money, it's about the energy behind it. It's about reward. Not for perfection, but for perseverance. For holding on to faith when you had no reason to. For continuing to show up for life when everything felt stalled. If you find yourself asking, what would I do tomorrow if money wasn't a worry, you're not just dreaming. You're preparing. And sometimes, preparing in faith is the very thing that activates the blessing. That's why I gently encourage you to write it down. Not to control the outcome but to demonstrate that your heart is ready to receive. Now, not all abundance flows through numbers. Some of the most powerful shifts come when relationships return not to reopen old wounds, but to offer healing. We've all had someone we silently longed for, someone whose name lives in our prayers, even if our lips never speak it out loud. Sometimes, what looked like the end was really just a divine delay that allowed both of you to grow into the people who could finally meet each other with truth and maturity. If someone has been lingering in your thoughts, someone you once blamed, or someone you never got to explain yourself, know this: reconciliation doesn't always require permission. It requires readiness. And often, forgiveness isn't about them coming back. It's about you opening the door again, this time with less pain, more clarity, and the ability to love without fear. That inner opening can shift more than just emotions. It can unlock stuck energy in other parts of your life, especially finances, self-worth, and joy. And then there's the third sign, the call to move. It might not be a move across the country. It might simply be a decision to no longer stay somewhere your soul feels small. When water imagery keeps appearing, waves, rain, the ocean, it's often Spirit's way of nudging you toward release and renewal. You may have been dreaming of living closer to the coast, starting over in a new town, or simply escaping the noise of your current routine. These dreams aren't escapism. They're alignment. They're the soul's way of letting you know that you've outgrown the container you're in. Just like a plant that's root-bound, your spirit is asking for space. For air. For movement. And here's where spiritual grounding meets practical action. You don't have to buy a plane ticket tomorrow. But you do need to give your desires somewhere to land. Make room. Pack a symbolic bag. Declutter a space. Book a short trip to the ocean if you can. Small shifts often unlock big answers. Because physical movement mirrors emotional readiness. And when both align, things begin to flow again. So whether your miracle comes in the form of a bank transfer, a long overdue conversation, or a change of scenery, the message is the same: you are not stuck. You are in transition. You are not being tested. You are being trusted. And when you respond with faith, however quiet or trembling, it activates a force much greater than circumstance. That, dear one, is the quiet unfolding of grace. Sometimes, life doesn't change with a loud bang, it changes in whispers. A text message you weren't expecting. A dream that feels more real than waking life. A conversation that somehow finds you at the exact moment you were losing hope. These aren't just random occurrences. They are invitations. Markers. Divine breadcrumbs on the path you've quietly been walking with more faith than most people could understand. And now, Libra, the moment has arrived when those pieces begin to connect, not in chaos, but in the exact order they were always meant to. There's a quote I often return to when the timing of things feels mysterious: you didn't fail. You were simply waiting for the right hour. It's gentle, yet it strikes with precision. Because how many times have you wondered if your season had passed, if your effort had expired, if your prayers had gone unanswered? The truth is, divine timing rarely works by human calendars. What feels like a delay is often just preparation. And when the hour arrives like no, you'll begin to notice how everything that once felt broken was simply being rearranged into something beautiful. This is the beginning of a chain of miracles. Not a single event, but a series of precisely timed moments, small enough to seem ordinary, powerful enough to shift everything. And when they start, they come fast. Like dominoes of grace. It may start with a message, a whisper from someone you thought had forgotten you. Or a dream that gives you clarity you didn't know you needed. Or even an opportunity that feels too well timed to be anything but destined. Don't brush them off. Notice them. Track them. Because every one of these moments is part of something much larger, much more deliberate. In the study of astrology, this phase often aligns with transits that activate your 9th or 12th houses, zones of higher wisdom and divine orchestration. It's when the invisible hand becomes visible. And while these transits aren't always loud, they are synchronistic. You begin to meet the right people without trying. You stumble on answers while doing something completely unrelated. You find yourself being nudged toward decisions you were previously too afraid to make. And it all begins to make sense because it's been designed that way. And in my years working not only with cosmic energy but also with real people living real, messy, beautiful lives, I've come to believe this deeply: God, or the divine intelligence behind this universe, doesn't usually interrupt us with dramatic events. More often, he nudges. Through timing. Through inner knowing. Through the calm after a long storm. If you've ever heard a story where someone missed their flight only to avoid danger, or found themselves at the right place at the right time for a life-changing connection, you know what I mean. These are not coincidences. These are coordinates in your soul's divine blueprint. So what does this mean for you today? It means you're not just watching this video because you were bored or curious. You were guided here. And what happens in the hours and days that follow this moment may look ordinary to someone else, but you'll know better. You'll feel the alignment. You'll recognize the pattern. And the more you welcome these moments with gratitude rather than suspicion, the more they flow. If you feel a quiet yes in your heart right now, I encourage you to say it out loud, or even better, write it in the comments below. I receive the chain of miracles. I trust the timing of my life. Because saying it doesn't just declare belief. It sets a vibration into motion. And that vibration is what will carry you into everything you've been waiting for. One moment at a time. Quietly. Perfectly. Right on time. Sometimes, the most profound shifts don't begin with dramatic change but with a quiet choice. A gentle decision to take care of yourself in new ways, even when no one is watching. Especially then. As the chain of miracles begins to unfold around you, the energy you hold within becomes more important than ever. And preparing your body, mind, and space to receive is not just practical, it's spiritual in its own right. This is the often overlooked part of the miracle, your ability to co-create it. When it comes to health, stress often lingers longer than we realize. It burrows into your shoulders, tightens your breath, clouds your clarity, and sometimes even blocks the very blessings you're trying to attract. That's why grounding practices like a simple 7-minute morning meditation or a 3-minute stretch before bed can shift more than just your mood. They signal to your nervous system that you are safe, that you're no longer in survival mode. And when you hydrate fully, reduce excess sugar, and nourish your magnesium levels, you're not just feeding the body, you're creating energetic spaciousness. Space for rest. Space for joy. Space for receiving what's already on its way to you. In your work life, you might be feeling uncertain. Maybe things aren't clicking the way they used to. That doesn't mean you fail at it, it means your soul is calling for a recalibration. Often, feeling lost is just the beginning of finding a new direction. This is the perfect time to pause and ask yourself, what do I actually do well? What lights me up? Write down 5 things you're genuinely good at, not things others expect, but talents that feel natural to you. From there, choose just one and brainstorm how it could become a new source of income, even if it starts small. You don't need a full roadmap to begin, just the courage to take one intentional step. Financially, it's easy to think we'll feel secure after the miracle shows up. But the truth is, your relationship with money is formed before the windfall ever arrives. If you don't know how to direct small energy, you'll struggle to hold large energy. That's why it's powerful to begin organizing your finances now, not with pressure, but with purpose. Start by creating 3 mini funds, one for saving, one for reinvesting into your growth, and one for caring for yourself. These don't have to be huge. What matters is the intention. It tells the universe you're ready, not waiting. And that readiness is magnetic. And in love. Oh, Libra. Here's where we often resist the most tender truths. We want to appear strong, composed, untouched. But love lives in the opposite. True love doesn't thrive in performance. It blooms in honesty. It grows when you allow yourself to say, I miss you, without shame. When you reach out, not because you need saving, but because connection is part of your nature. If there's someone you've held back from speaking out of pride, fear, or fatigue, ask yourself this. What would change if you chose softness over silence? Preparing for your next chapter isn't about control. It's about participation. It's about aligning your everyday choices with the version of you who's already living the life you desire. That's where self-help becomes something sacred, not because it's perfect, but because it's present. Because it honors that miracles don't just land in your lap. They meet you halfway. So take a breath. Take a sip of water. Take one small action. Because readiness doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be real. And when you begin showing up for yourself like this, even in these simple, quiet ways, you're not just waiting for a blessing anymore. You're preparing a place for it to stay. When we speak about activating energy, we're not just referring to something abstract or distant. Energy moves where attention flows, and attention becomes magnetic when it's wrapped in emotion, clarity, and participation. That's why this moment isn't passive. It's participatory. It asks something of you, not effort, but presence. And one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to shift energy is through reflection and response. Not just thinking about what's happening within and around you, but naming it, claiming it, and releasing it through words. Especially when those words are shared. By answering these questions not just in your mind, but in the open, in community, or doing more than interacting with a video. You're directing energy into motion. Each comment becomes a ripple, and those ripples create waves. That's why we don't ask these questions lightly. We ask them because they are gateways to intention. They help you identify where your heart is anchored and what it's ready to reach toward next. If you've been seeing the number 7 repeatedly, you're not imagining it. In numerology and cosmic symbolism, 7 represents alignment, spiritual readiness, and a higher orchestration at work. It's a sign that something is building often behind the scenes and you are being gently prepared to receive. When you write that down, when you share, "Yes, I've seen 7 today," you are confirming that the universe has your attention. And that confirmation echoes. And what about your dreams? That dream you had last night or even last week that stayed with you longer than usual, there's wisdom in that. Dreams don't always come as prophecies. They come as mirrors of our emotional state, our spiritual longing, and our subconscious truth. Writing about your latest dream, even in a few short words, turns it from a fleeting memory into a grounded message. Something your conscious self can carry forward. Then there's the question of financial miracles. If it arrived today, if the stress vanished overnight, what would you do first? That answer isn't just a fantasy. It's a roadmap. Your response reveals your hidden priorities, your buried desires, and where you long to feel most secure or free. And by stating it aloud, you're not just wishing. You're inviting alignment. You're positioning yourself on the energetic path that leads to that reality. And perhaps the deepest shift of all comes from forgiveness. Who do you need to forgive, or who do you long to hear those words from? Forgiveness is never about excusing pain, it's about freeing energy. It's about saying, "This no longer has power over me," and making space for peace to live where bitterness once stood. Naming this in community is like opening a window in a room that's been closed too long. The fresh air is immediate. And it's contagious. Finally, where would you begin again? If you had to start fresh, not out of fear, but out of deep calling, where would your soul feel most alive? Near water? In nature? In a quieter life or a bolder one? This question isn't hypothetical. It's an opening. And it's also an answer. Because if you're feeling that urge, that curiosity, it may be the very guidance you've been waiting for. So take this moment to reflect and respond. Write in the comments what's moving in you right now. Every answer is not just a reply, it's a contribution to the collective field we're all part of here. And trust me, when many souls speak into the same space with clear intention, energy moves faster. Miracles come quicker. And the feeling of isolation fades as your heart realizes, "I'm not walking this path alone." Libra love, if you've made it this far, take a deep breath and let that mean something. Because showing up fully, even just to a video like this, not nothing. It's the first sacred step toward reclaiming your story. And if no one has told you lately, let me be the one to say, you are allowed to start again. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to dream bigger, heal deeper, and walk lighter than ever before. You don't need to wait for someone else to open the door for you. You are not waiting to be saved. You are the key, the gatekeeper, and the guardian of your next chapter. And all of it begins with the choices you make in the quiet. Not the loud declarations, but the soft internal shifts that whisper, "I'm ready now. I've carried enough. I want more," not from a place of greed, but from a place of knowing I was born for more than survival. At exactly 12 a.m., the wheel turned. The vibration changed. And something deep inside you already recognized it, didn't it? That tug. That breath. That still moment that felt like a yes. It's not imagination, it's intuition. And what you do with that quiet yes is what will define how this miracle enters your life. Will you act on it? Will you believe it's for you? Will you trust that it doesn't matter who doubted you before, as long as you stop doubting yourself now? No one else can answer that. But you can. And you don't have to do it all today. You just have to begin. With a word. With a thought. With a decision to rise slowly, steadily, surely. You see, the universe doesn't rush. And neither do real miracles. They unfold in divine rhythm, with gentle patience. But they do look for partnership. So ask yourself this now: what is one small thing I can do today to move toward the life I know I was meant for? Who am I ready to forgive? What old belief am I ready to lay down? Where am I ready to go, now that I've let go of what's been weighing me down? And if something in this message stirred you, don't let it float away like another piece of inspiration you forget by dinner. Anchor it. Claim it. Make it yours. So I lovingly invite you to pause right now, breathe deeply, and type in the comments, "I am ready. The miracle is mine." Because when you write that, it's not just a comment, it's a declaration. It's a moment when the inner you speaks louder than your fear. If you felt even a flicker of recognition while listening, please don't leave quietly. Tap like. Share this with someone whose soul might need the same light. And subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where every message is woven for hearts like yours, sensitive, searching, and sacred. You don't need to chase magic. You are living in it now. And from this moment forward, you don't just hope for the miracle. You walk in it. On your terms. With your light. And I promise you, Libra, this is only the beginning.